Aleichem and welcome to Online Smicha. Today we'll talk a little about, being that's in proximity to Yutas Kislev, the day of Yom HaGeula of the Alter Rebbe, and we know that Chassidim also celebrate Yud Beis Tammuz, the Yom HaGeula of the Frierdiker Rebbe. A little about history of Gedolei Yisrael who sat in prison for Leman Kedushas Hashem, Leman Torah and Mitzvahs, and perhaps also touch upon different places in Halacha where it discusses one who sits in prison in points of Halacha. So you might be shocked to hear that amongst other chugim, there are also different Gedolei Yisrael that sat in prison Leman Hashem. The Vilna Gaon sat in prison Leman Torah, as it's brought the story that it was actually, they believe it was Exera, because the Vilna Gaon claimed he wanted to establish that should be Birchas Kohen and B'chol Yom, the way to Duchen B'chol Yom, even in Chutz La'aretz, and for a long period of time he wanted to establish this halacha, until one day came along and he said, I'm starting tomorrow, and that tomorrow, right before the davening, people came to arrest the Vilna Gaon. And obviously after a couple of days he was released, but they say, as it's written in their Svarim, that it was a Gzeira for Milmaila for wanting to establish this halacha. In the Chassidei Ger, they say that there was once in the year of Tov Reish Yud Aleph in Poland, the government let out a takana, a Gzeira, that everybody should dress the way they want. There should be a dress code. And specifically, they were against the dress code of the Yidden, and especially the beard and payas. And the Chedushei Arim at that time said, I believe we have to go on Mesiras Nefesh to fight this takana. So much so that they saw that he didn't listen to the rule. They took the Chedushei Arim, they put him into prison, and this is still the times of the Kotzker Rebbe, and they wanted to break the morale of Klal Yisrael back then, so they started letting out rumors that they have the Rebbe in the prison, and they cut his beard and payas, chas v'shalom, and all that. And when they told the Kotzker Rebbe, who was the Chedushei Arim's Rebbe, that this is what's happening to the Chedushei Arim, they didn't see any reaction of the Kotzker Rebbe. And the Kotzker Rebbe responded by saying, Zarg sich nicht, don't worry. It's impossible that they actually did that, because nobody is going to get to touch the beard and payas of the Chedushei Arim. And Kach Hava, with the due pressure and however connections they had, they freed the Chedushei Arim from prison. It is also spoken about the Maril Diskin from Brisk, that one time he was involved in performing a get for a complicated situation, somebody who Nebuch fell very far, and he became a mummer, and that person was so disappointed to hurt, and he wanted to hurt the Rav so badly that he went and tattletale to the government, and they put the Maril Diskin in prison. And the Maril Diskin, the Beis Halevi came to Beis Halevi went to the Memshala to fight for him, and he also was released. They say the Sameach, Meir Simcha Kohen, also wanted to establish a certain halacha, and they put him in prison. In halacha, we find a couple of places particularly where the halacha discusses somebody who is in prison. We know that the bracha of Agoimel, Abba Tzrichin L'Hoidos, is V'chol HaChayim Yerdu Chasela, who has to do the Birchas Agoimel, a Chavush B'Veis HaAsurim, a Chayla, Yam, Yisurim, and Midbar. But a Chavush B'Veis HaAsurim, and he's freed, according to some opinions, or most of opinions, if he's placed in Beis HaAsurim, Al Iskei Nefashos, when he is freed, he has to say, Baruch HaGoimel Chayavim Tovos. The Rebbe writes that if a person celebrates his own victory, how much more so he has to celebrate his Rebbe's victory, and even more than he celebrates his father's victory. In Shulchan Aruch, it discusses a person who is in prison and he wants to hear Kriyas HaTorah. Is it disrespectful to bring a Torah to prison? In Shulchan Aruch, it talks about taking a haircut in Chol Hamoed. We know that's one of the Isurim that should not be done in Chol Hamoed. What happens if he wasn't able to take a haircut before Chol Hamoed because he was in prison? He was just released. The Chacham Tzvi in Shalos Teshuvos has an interesting shaila. His shaila is a person who was held in prison, and they were giving him 1 day, a year, a month, or whatever it is, to be free. And during that 1 day, or the one period of time, he could do whatever he wants. He fulfill any Torah mitzvah he wants. Should he line it up to be in a day where there's a mitzvah chamura, where it's a more auspicious mitzvah, more serious mitzvah, then just do whatever comes in hand the first possible time. And he says the first possible time you should do a mitzvah. In other Shalos Teshuvos Sfarim it says that a Yid who is in prison and he's around a not clean area and it's Rosh Hashanah and he has to hear the shofar, so it's brought in Shalos Teshuvos Sfarim, he's allowed to do the mitzvah of Tkiyah Shofar, the blowing, but the bracha is questionable. And if during that day he's somehow freed, then he should re-blow the shofar with the bracha. This is general what we find, as I mentioned before, the Chol HaChayim Yodu Chasela, the Alter Rebbe says in the Siddur, is specifically somebody who's incarcerated for a serious matter, Iskin Nefashis, that the Eibishter is Moitzi Tzara L'Rvacha, Meshibud L'Geula, you have to make the bracha, Baruch HaGoymel Chayavim Tov V'Shekam Alani Tov. Yeshikoyach, and please join us again next week.